The 20 lost treasures that no one has been able to find, but people still keep searching for. These are the world's most sought-after lost treasures. Throughout history, countless treasures have vanished, some known for their immense monetary value, others for their deep cultural or symbolic meaning. On one hand, you have legendary heists, pulled off so spectacularly that they've inspired movies and TV shows. On the other hand, there are priceless cultural artifacts, like China's Imperial seal, which disappeared after being used by emperors for over 1,000 years. Some losses go beyond gold and jewels. They're intellectual or even spiritual. Take, for example, the legendary library inherited by Ivan the Terrible from his grandmother, a priceless collection of ancient texts that vanished in Moscow after his death. Then there are sacred relics, so intertwined with a people's identity that they're considered beyond value, like the Ark of the Covenant. How do you even begin to put a price tag on something like that? In this video, we're diving into the most fascinating lost treasures in human history, from biblical times to modern-day mysteries. Join us on a captivating journey through thefts, legends, and disappearances that continue to intrigue the world. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Number 1. The Antwerp Diamond Heist. Nicknamed the Heist of the Century, this remains one of the most jaw-dropping thefts in history, and the largest diamond heist ever recorded. The thieves made off with loose diamonds, gold, silver, and other valuables totaling an estimated $100 million. The heist took place in Antwerp, Belgium, during the night of February 15th to 16th, 2003. The thieves bypassed an elaborate security system that included a vault lock with 100 million possible combinations, a seismic sensor, infrared heat detectors, a Doppler radar, and even a magnetic field. To make matters more impressive, the building had a private security team and was located in Antwerp's Diamond District, one of the most heavily guarded business zones in the world. To this day, most of the stolen diamonds have never been recovered. 2. The Treasure of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were a powerful military and religious order founded in 1119 to protect Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim forces and to safeguard Christian pilgrims traveling to sacred sites. Over time, they amassed great wealth and influence until 1307, when King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V orchestrated a brutal takedown of the order. The Pope formally disbanded the Templars, accusing them of heresy and other crimes, which allowed the French king to act freely. Deeply in debt, Philip IV saw the destruction of the Templars as an opportunity to erase his kingdom's financial problems. But the grand plan didn't go as expected. While some of the Templar treasures were seized, the vast majority vanished without a trace. More than 700 years later, the lost Templar treasure remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. 3. The Treasure of La Noche Triste. During the infamous La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows, between June 30th and July 1st, 1520, Hernán Cortés and his Spanish troops, along with their indigenous allies, were forced to flee the Aztec capital after the death of Emperor Moctezuma. Fearing they wouldn't survive another day in the city, Cortés ordered his men to pack up some of the gold they had looted, allowing them to carry additional treasure as personal plunder. But greed proved fatal. Many soldiers overloaded themselves and became easy targets, or drowned in the canals and lakes as they tried to escape. The Spanish had hoped for a quiet retreat, but their plan was shattered when an elderly native woman, unable to sleep, spotted them and raised the alarm. Chaos erupted. The stealthy escape turned into a desperate and disorganized flight, costing many lives, and leading to the permanent loss of much of the Aztec gold now known as the Treasure of La Noche Triste. Number 4. The Ark of the Covenant. Everyone remembers Raiders of the Lost Ark, the classic Steven Spielberg film where the daring archaeologist Indiana Jones goes on an epic quest to recover a legendary artifact. But what exactly was the Ark of the Covenant? According to the Bible, it was a sacred gold-covered chest built by Moses under God's precise instructions. Inside were the stone tablets bearing the Ten Commandments, along with other holy relics of Judaism. The Israelites carried the Ark through the desert for decades during their journey to the Promised Land. It's said to have performed miracles, like parting the Jordan River so the people could cross. Eventually, the Ark was placed in Jerusalem, in the inner sanctum of Solomon's Temple, known as the Holy of Holies. But in 587 BCE, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar invaded and destroyed the city. From that moment on, the Ark of the Covenant vanished without a trace, and its whereabouts remain one of the greatest mysteries in religious history. 5. The Imperial Seal of China. Also known as the Heirloom Seal of the Realm, this sacred object was carved from jade around 221 BCE, shortly after the founding of the Qin dynasty, the dynasty that unified China and gave rise to the Chinese Empire. In ancient China, jade symbolized inner beauty and moral virtue, making it the perfect material for such a powerful emblem. The seal was passed from emperor to emperor for over 1,000 years, and was considered the physical symbol of the mandate of heaven, the divine right to rule. But sometime near the fall of the Tang dynasty, in the early 10th century, the imperial seal disappeared and has never been seen again. 6. The treasures described in the Copper Scrolls of the Dead Sea. On the northern edge of the Dead Sea lies the ancient archaeological site of Qumran, known for its many caves. In 1946, a Bedouin shepherd stumbled upon what would become one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, the first of the Dead Sea Scrolls. These ancient texts gave scholars an unprecedented glimpse into life during biblical times. Over time, excavations uncovered a total of 972 scrolls, most written on parchment or papyrus, except for 2 unusual ones made of copper. These copper scrolls, discovered in Cave 3 in 1952, are unlike any of the others, not just in material, but in content. They don't contain religious teachings or historical records. Instead, they list over 60 locations where vast treasures of gold and silver were supposedly hidden. The problem? The directions were written for someone living over 2,000 years ago, not a modern treasure hunter with GPS and metal detectors. To this day, none of the treasures mentioned in the Copper Scrolls have ever been found. 7. The Menorah of the Second Temple. A menorah is a 7-branched candelabrum described in the Hebrew Bible and ancient texts as having been used in the tabernacle, and later in the Temple of Jerusalem. It has long been a powerful symbol of Jewish identity, both in the diaspora and in the modern state of Israel, where it was officially adopted as a national emblem in 1948. The Second Temple of Jerusalem, rebuilt by the Jews after returning from their Babylonian exile, housed one of these sacred menorahs. But in the year 70 CE, when Roman forces under Vespasian and his son Titus conquered Jerusalem, they looted the menorah and brought it back to Rome as a trophy. It was placed in the Temple of Peace, where it remained on display until a fire destroyed the building in the year 191. From that point on, the fate of the menorah became a mystery. Some believe it was destroyed in the blaze. Others claim it was stolen, possibly taken to Carthage by the Vandals after they sacked Rome in 455 CE. Its current location remains unknown. 8. The Scepter of Dagobert. Dagobert I was a Frankish king who ruled from 623 to 634. He made Paris his capital and became the first Frankish monarch to be buried in the royal tombs of the Basilica of Saint-Denis. He was just 36 years old when he died, and is often considered the last truly powerful king of the Merovingian dynasty, having successfully defended his lands from eastern invaders. His royal scepter was an exquisite piece, 56 centimeters long, made of gold filigree and enamel. It featured 3 distinct elements: a rod, a hand holding a globe, and a statue of a bird perched at the top. It's believed to have been crafted by the master goldsmith Éloi of Noyon, who was also a bishop, royal advisor, and later canonized as Saint Eligius, known for his work with the poor and his efforts to free enslaved captives. The Scepter of Dagobert eventually became one of the oldest treasures in the French crown jewels, kept in the treasury of the Basilica of Saint-Denis. That is, until 1795, when it was stolen and never seen again. 9. The Lost Crown Jewels of King John. King John of England had a taste for collecting gold plates, ornate jewelry, and lavish royal treasures. In 1216, while on a military campaign in the marshlands near Lynn in Norfolk, the king fell ill with dysentery and decided to retreat to a nearby castle for treatment. He was traveling with several chests full of royal treasures, including crowns inherited from previous monarchs. But instead of taking the longer, safer route, his treasure caravan took a shorter, but far more dangerous path across the swamps. King John took the slower route himself, but the treasure carts were never seen again. Some say they sank into the marshes and were swallowed by the earth. Others suspect the king's own guards may have stolen the treasure and vanished. King John died shortly after, still haunted by the loss of what would become one of the greatest missing treasures in British history. 10. The Just Judges. The Just Judges is the name of the lower left panel of the famous Ghent altarpiece, painted in the early 1430s by the master John van Eyck, or possibly his brother Hubert. The panel was displayed in the Cathedral of Saint-Bavo in Ghent, Belgium, when it was stolen on the night of April 10, 1934, likely by a Belgian man named Arsène Guedertier. The theft was meticulous. The panel was carefully removed from its frame, and in its place, the thief left a note written in French that read, "Taken from Germany by the Treaty of Versailles." This cryptic message referred to the fact that the German Empire had previously looted the altarpiece during World War I and taken it to Berlin before being forced to return it as part of the post-war Treaty of Versailles. On his deathbed, Guedertier confessed to his lawyer that he alone knew the location of the missing panel and that he intended to take the secret with him to the grave. To this day, the Just Judges has never been recovered. 11. The Treasure of Dutch Schultz. Dutch Schultz was a notorious American mobster of Dutch descent who rose to power during the Great Depression through bootlegging and illegal lotteries. His criminal empire came under threat when federal prosecutor Thomas Dewey charged him with tax evasion. Twice, fearing conviction, Schultz asked for permission from the Mafia Commission to have Dewey killed. When the commission denied his request, Schultz attempted to do it anyway. This reckless move sealed his fate. On October 23, 1935, Luciano ordered a hit on Schultz, and he was shot in a New York restaurant, dying the following day. Before his assassination, rumors swirled that Schultz had buried $7 million in cash and bonds somewhere in the Catskill Mountains, hoping to recover it if he ever needed to go underground. If it exists, and is still intact, those bills would now be worth more as rare collectibles than as spendable money. Despite decades of searching, no one has ever found Dutch Schultz's lost fortune. 12. The Florentine Diamond. The Florentine Diamond is a legendary gem of Indian origin, currently lost to history. It was a stunning yellow diamond with greenish undertones, cut into an unusual 9-sided double rose with 126 facets and weighing 137.2 carats. Legend has it that Charles the Bold, Duke of Burgundy, wore it during the Battle of Nancy in 1477, where he was killed. A soldier, or possibly a local peasant, reportedly took the diamond, mistaking it for glass, and sold it for just 2 francs. The gem later surfaced in the hands of Bartolomeo Mau from Bern, Switzerland, who sold it to Genoese merchants. From there, it passed through the hands of nobility, including Duke Ludovico Sforza, before landing in the famed treasure collection of the Medici family in Florence. Pope Julius II has also been mentioned among its possible owners. Eventually, the diamond became part of the Habsburg crown jewels, but after the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire following World War I, Emperor Charles I took it into exile. It was stolen in 1918, and rumors suggest it was smuggled to South America. By the 1920s, it may have reached the United States, where it was possibly recut and sold, disappearing from history forever. 13. The Great Bell of Dhammazedi. Cast from an astonishing 294 tons of metal, including tin, copper, gold, and silver, the Great Bell of Dhammazedi is believed to have been the largest bell ever made. It was commissioned in 1484 by King Dhammazedi, ruler of the region of Lower Burma, modern-day Myanmar, and placed in the sacred Shwedagon Pagoda. According to legend, the royal astrologer warned the king against unveiling the bell, citing a bad alignment of the crocodile constellation, which he claimed would prevent it from ringing properly. Sure enough, when the bell was finally struck, it reportedly produced an unpleasant sound. It was removed from the pagoda and loaded onto a ship to be taken downstream via the Yangon River, but the ship sank during transport, taking the massive bell down with it. Despite numerous expeditions and sonar searches, the Great Bell of Dhammazedi has never been found. 14. The Lost Gold of the Incas. Several legends speak of Paititi, a mysterious lost Incan city said to be hidden deep in the jungle. According to these stories, the Incas stashed their most valuable treasures there to keep them out of Spanish hands during the conquest of Peru. Over time, Paititi has become synonymous with El Dorado, the mythical city of gold. Researchers believe that Paititi, if it ever existed, is located somewhere in the Peruvian Amazon. And while the city itself has never been found, explorers over the past 600 years have uncovered other settlements and clues that seem to support the idea that Paititi was real. Will we ever know if Paititi and El Dorado were separate cities? Or perhaps the same legendary place? Only time will tell. 15. The Lost Library of the Russian Tsars. Also known as Ivan the Terrible's library, this legendary collection is said to have vanished shortly after the death of the infamous Russian Tsar. Though there's no conclusive proof that the library ever truly existed, it has remained one of history's most enduring puzzles, a tantalizing challenge for historians and archaeologists alike. According to legend, the library was originally assembled by Sophia Palaeologina, niece of the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine V. She married Ivan III of Russia and became the grandmother of Ivan the Terrible. It's said she brought more than 800 priceless books from Rome to Moscow, including rare masterpieces from ancient Greece and Rome. Ivan the Terrible reportedly expanded the collection, adding rare European works, but before his death, he supposedly hid the entire library somewhere in Moscow. After his passing, its location was lost, and it has never been seen again. 16. The Amber Room. A true symbol of 18th century European art, the Amber Room was once the crown jewel of the Romanov dynasty. Peter the Great, the first emperor of Russia, was well known for his fascination with rare and unusual objects. His personal collection included everything from deformed human embryos preserved in jars to exotic minerals, and many of these are still on display today in St. Petersburg, the imperial capital he founded. European monarchs knew that if they wanted to impress the powerful Russian Tsar, the best way was to gift him something unique or extravagant. In 1716, Frederick William I of Prussia did just that, presenting Peter with a vast collection of amber panels, gold leaf, and mirrors, enough to line the walls of an entire chamber, crafted by the finest Baroque artisans of the time. The Amber Room soon earned the nickname the Eighth Wonder of the World. But during World War II, the Nazis dismantled and looted the room as they invaded Russia. Since then, one of the greatest masterpieces of Baroque art has vanished from history, its fate still unknown. 17. Nelson's Chelengk. The Chelengk was a prestigious military decoration awarded by the Ottoman Empire, typically worn as a jeweled plume or brooch featuring a central flower surrounded by decorative buds and radiant beams pointing upward. In 1798, after British Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson's stunning naval victory over Napoleon's fleet at the Battle of the Nile, Sultan Selim III personally honored him with a one-of-a-kind Chelengk. This marked the first time in history the Ottoman Empire awarded such an honor to someone outside its own ranks. In 1929, Nelson's Chelengk was acquired by the Society for Nautical Research and later placed on display at the National Maritime Museum in the UK. But in 1951, it was stolen by notorious thief George Taters, and it has been missing from public record ever since. 18. The Royal Chest of Poland. Known simply as the Royal Chest, this was a large wooden box containing 73 priceless artifacts, once owned by members of the Polish royal family. It was assembled in 1800 by Princess Izabela Czartoryska, a renowned art collector and noblewoman. Among the treasures were a gold snuff box encrusted with diamonds, once belonging to King Stanisław August Poniatowski, a gold watch from King Augustus II, another golden timepiece from Queen Marie Casimir, a silver rosary from Queen Maria, along with many other historically valuable heirlooms. Somehow, the royal chest survived Poland's political turmoil during the 19th and early 20th centuries by constantly being moved from one hiding place to another. But when World War II broke out, the chest was relocated from Krakow to a hidden storage site in Zamość, sealed behind a brick wall. Unfortunately, when the Germans occupied Poland, a local German resident betrayed the hiding place to Nazi soldiers, who looted the chest and divided the treasures among themselves. To this day, the stolen contents have never been recovered. 19. The Treasure of Lima. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, the Viceroyalty of Peru and the Catholic Church amassed a vast fortune in the city of Lima. But in 1820, during Peru's War of Independence, the city became unstable and dangerous. Fearing the loss of these riches, the Spanish viceroy ordered that the treasure be shipped to Mexico for safekeeping. However, the captain and crew of the ship Mary Dear had other plans. Mid-voyage, they murdered the guards and priests on board, tossing their bodies into the sea, and turned from sailors into pirates. They buried the treasure on Cocos Island, off the coast of Costa Rica, intending to retrieve it once things settled down, but they never made it back. Over the years, treasure hunters have searched tirelessly across Cocos Island, digging, scanning, and mapping in hopes of finding the stolen fortune. Eventually, the Costa Rican government banned treasure hunting on the island, turning it into a protected national park. Still, the legend of Lima's lost treasure continues to lure dreamers and adventurers from around the world. 20. The Twin Sisters Cannons. The Twin Sisters was the name given to two cannons used by the Texan Army during the Texas Revolution, 1835 to 1836. A conflict that ultimately led to Texas's de facto independence from the Centralist Republic of Mexico. These twin cannons are widely credited with securing victory at the Battle of San Jacinto, fought on April 21, 1836, the final and decisive battle of the Revolution. It's believed the cannons were also used during the Mexican invasions of 1842 and later in the American Civil War. Over the years, the fate of the Twin Sisters has become one of Texas's most enduring mysteries. Some believe they sank into quicksand near the town of Goliad, while others say they were melted down for scrap metal. The latter theory seems more plausible, since the last recorded sighting of the cannons was in 1865, in a scrapyard in Houston. Today, the Twin Sisters are revered as the holy grail of Texas history, lost relics of a battle that changed the fate of a nation. We hope you enjoyed this journey through 20 of the most sought-after lost treasures in history. If you know of a famous treasure or legendary artifact that didn't make the list, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you found it interesting, share it with your friends and family. Who knows, maybe one of them will go on their own treasure hunt. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the world's greatest mysteries, lost relics, and forgotten legends.